Remember this day, man, for it will be yours for all time.
We have shown them that a trembling hand can become a fist. We have challenged the idea that a slave must always know his place, accepting rod and lash because he was taught to accept it. We built their mighty republic with our hands and our blood and our lives. And we can see it fall at equal cost. You open my...
Chat, I caught myself that time. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you guys. My intros, as usual, only stay up for about 24 hours. So if you happen to see it, congratulations. You got to see it. I put a lot of work into it. But if not, hail to you. Hail to the chat. Good to see people up here. Let me say hi to everybody. What's going on? Phil TMNT. Guys, if you are not familiar, Phil, please put a link in for your channel. If you are... Oh, fuck. Can you hear me?
No, we can.
Can you hear me? You can? Tell me you can. Like, say it loud, because Zombie Box is in the chat saying it was muted. Coil?
Hey, what's happening, man? That was a hell of an introduction. And truthfully, we could have a whole show just dissecting all those images.
Well, hold on. Now you can hear me. Wait.
Yeah, now I can hear you. So you are listening to The Throat of Immortal Coil, What's Happening, My Savage Friends. This video contains copywritten content. However, under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C, Title 17 of the United States Code, this content is presented for the purposes of education and entertainment through the use of parody, satire, critique, analysis, and/or social commentary by means of subjective opinion. Viewer discretion is advised, which means if you have sensitive ears, here's your bailout right now. We're going to go over some real shit tonight.
Now I got to edit the shit. Did you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, so I heard you. I heard the intro. You had about like 10 seconds between when I think it was Zombie Box.
Oh, there was literally a mute. Oh, okay. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. It wasn't the entire thing. I heard you say who you are and what we're about, but there was a piece right before you pulled me on where you were gone for about 10 seconds. It wasn't
okay. I don't know what happened, y'all. I'm sorry. It was. I guess it was the. Hopefully, I fixed it. Let's go back again and say hail to chat. What's up, Phil? Guys, if you are not subscribed to Phil, please let Phil put a link in your for your channel in the chat. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Zombie Box Reviews is here. Same thing. All my fellow content creators, if you got a wrench or you see somebody out there with a channel, please put their channel link in the chat. We are not selfish here. We rise together.
Absolutely.
Like the old school fourth wave, sir. Let's see. We got CJH in the house. What's up, CJ? Things gotten better since the last time I read your cards. I hope so, sir. Who else? We got... why am I doing that? I'm looking at the phone. I'm all kerfuffled.
That's okay. Take a deep breath. Let's do it again.
Oh, God. Now I'm definitely editing it. You're not going to see the intro after. I'm editing after this. See, either something odd has been happening to me or the last few days, or I saw was 666 everywhere. Look up the angel number. Dude, there's 6 people in the chat. Stop messing with me right now. No, it's look up the angel number 666. I mean, and well, okay, manifestation. Whatever it means to you. So if you're a Christian, then you see those numbers, you're automatically going to think, you know, it's going to happen. But there's a chance that could mean something else. It could. What
do you think about it being the inverse of 999?
The inverse of 9, what? Completion? The completion of a journey?
Well, so numerologically, and Tesla talked about this, 3, 6, and 9 are very special numbers. 9 is self-replicative, and then 3 and 6 take turns with each other. So you flip 666, so like directly upside down, just like an inverse pentacle. It's 999. Okay. What do you think about that?
Wow. I mean, yeah. That would feed into the infinity cycle, right? Is kind of where you're going with that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a very he's kind of like underground famous. His name is Marco Rodin, and he he did this thing about like the skin of a tube torus being composed of like all the numbers from 1 to 0, or excuse me, from 0 to 9. And he found that like as the circuit doubled, it created a pattern, but also as it like uh, doubled into the negatives, it also created a similar pattern. And then he also did studies on each of the number. Each number, as you double it, creates a certain sequence. A little bit to do with numerology, a little bit to do with that science. But then if you combine that with just the basic knowledge of like how 7's the virgin, and that kind of thing, then you really start to have a deeper appreciation for numbers. As to why CJH is seeing 666 everywhere, I guess we're gonna have to ask him where his mind's been lately. You can see patterns in anything. Like people who notice 1111, or people who notice 7's, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can create those patterns too, because you're attracting them, right? You create the matrix around you. You're creating the world around you. Through your perception, your little piece of the divine.
Absolutely.
But I also believe that, you know me, I believe in angels, I believe in guardian spirits, ancestors, and all that. So I believe that they speak to us, the universe, God speaks to us through them, and the signs do manifest in numbers. That's why angel numbers, man, I pay attention to those. Listen, before we got online, when I checked it last, all right, the last 2 numbers in my sub count was 69. All right, and that's us, right? You're the 6 in Pacific time, and I'm the 9 in Eastern.
Yep.
And I just want to say, I'm very proud of myself, Coyle, because Coyle and I have been friends for years. We're perverts. Yeah. When you said tubed, my mind totally went trans fat. I just shut up. Speaking of that, hail to the Rookie Critic. Hail to Snow Dub Music and Entertainment. Guys, if you are not subscribed to Snow Dub Music and Entertainment, please head over there. If you like puppeteering, if you like comedy, conservative lean, if that's your thing, please go check out that channel. It's amazing what Snow Dub has built. Real quick, I want to say hello to Are You For Real? Yeah, we're kind of for real. We're low tonight. That's a nice pussy you have. Thank you so much for being here. What's up, Sergeant Pepper? Hey, sweetheart sister, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much. I know we might have some new people coming through here because I've had an explosion of subscribers, and I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you so much. We are almost at 9K, and I want to hit 10K and beyond. I know that I need to be different, right? The way that Walton has always been, whether it was doing entertainment commentary or whatever it is I want to do, I want to be a little different than everybody else. So there are some wonderful channels out there that do narcissistic abuse, awareness, recovery, that can explain narcissism to you, that have the people that have degrees, people that have gone to school for this, and God's bless them because they helped me too. If you, when you come here, you're getting kind of an unfiltered, I'm a victim. I'm a victim, though. I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse, and I don't want to keep talking about the same things over and over again. So we're going to start expanding the range of this channel with my friend here, Immortal Coil, who's been with me the whole ride, one of my ride or die friends, and never left my side. And so tonight we're going to be going into something that is might be a hot topic for some of y'all. We're going to be talking about spiritual narcissism, and that, for me, is when a system of belief, a religion, a faith, a doctrine is used in such a way that it devalues other people for its own egotistical superiority. Yeah. That's how I see it, because we're all connected to the divine. Like, for me, I'll let Coyle give his take here in a moment. For me, we are all connected in spirit. We are all part of Source. If you choose to disconnect from God, disconnect from Source, that's on you. Narcissists do that by destroying life after life after life. And that's why I always say, like, they become demonic. You know, they live in negative cycles. Those dark forces live around them, and they become demonic. Good people, decent people, all walks of life. I don't care what your faith is, religion, spirituality, if you have one. For me, being connected to Source, recognizing our connection to Source, is respecting and loving our neighbors and everyone. Yeah. And understanding that we all have different perspectives on the universe, on God, on divinity and faith, because we are living different perspectives. Coyle, what do you think?
I tend to agree. One of the reasons I like streaming with Steven is because even though he's walked a different spiritual path, we've come to a lot of the same conclusions independently. So every soul is sacred. If you seek to devalue another soul, I suppose that's the closest definition to evil I can think of. Or if you choose to dismiss your own divinity, that's your own personal walk with life. But that doesn't mean I have to stop seeing your divinity. And I think all the best spiritual speakers, spiritual masters, spiritual teachers, they're going to point you to the divine by pointing you back to yourself because there's something unique that you can do only as you that nobody else can do. And that reflects the uniqueness of your own divinity. Because, like you said, it all comes from source, it's all connected to source. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about what exactly source is as you perceive it from your walk through life. If you have a minute to talk about that.
Sure. It's okay. 1 second. Let me say hi to a few more people.
Yep.
Angela, I was kind of hoping you were to do when I made the pussy joke, but thank you, sister, for for taking that in stride. Nikki Red is in the chat. What is up? We suffer no fools and we do not kneel. Hail, sister. That is, dude, Mortal, when you talk about subscribers, like RR comes through your chat every week, right? Subs that always come through. Nikki is one of those that's always come through for this channel. Been here since
loyal
the
soldiers. Yeah.
Loyal,
well, I hope to see some of you guys on my channel. I wasn't feeling good last night, so I didn't do it. But we have this master plan to take over the weekend. Maybe
we are.
Yeah. Maybe Steven will talk about it at some point. But
yeah, I mean, just real quick, because we'll talk about it a few times. Sporking News Podcast, my best friend, another soldier, always been with me. Guys, if you could share a link to Sporking News Podcast in the chat, I'd appreciate that if any of you could.
Good guy.
He's one of the best. And he does aluminum spork on the weekends. Did one last night on his channel. And I think he's going to be doing that from now on. So I'm going to be over there, and maybe you'll see Coil too, on aluminum spork at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you're going to see us over on Immortal Coil's channel, the two of us doing Savage Spirituality at 11 p.m. Pacific. And then you're going to see us every week on Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, doing the Sage and the Savage. And we appreciate you. Thank you, Nikki, for being here. Zombie Box Review says, I won't be posting my link as I won't be posting anything on my channel until I feel I'm ready to. I understand that. I completely understand that. My mom is in the hospital at the moment. Oh, no. And doing YouTube isn't a priority for me right now. Well, look, I'm sending prayers. And if anybody out there of faith would send some prayers and some love towards Andy.
Take care of your family for sure, man.
Yeah, toward Andy's mom. That would be greatly appreciated. Good people. Zombie Box is a very good person in this community. I think 444 is an angel number. It is. And actually has a lot of significance. I don't really want to get into it. It was a number that was pointed out to me last Hoover. And I've seen it over and over again. And the significance of 444 to me is, happy home progression coming together. So that's something else we can kind of get into maybe later on. Changing your perception of events, people, things in your life that have happened or things that are happening in order to manifest, create a more positive outlook, a more positive reality. There's TMNT with Snowdub's channel. Thank you so much. Real quick, want to get the CJH, $5 Canadian. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you up there in the cold, enduring the north winds for us. The newest eclipse happens to pass over 14 cities named Nevea, and as well, which is very interesting. Am I reading that right? Nineveh?
Well, that's a Middle Eastern city, and I guess it depends on because I know like the total eclipse passes over the United States next month. So is CJH like based in Europe or something?
No, CJH is up in Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he's up
maybe
there where the last of the mutants are.
Yeah, maybe he'll elaborate a little bit more in the chat. That's
Well, he said he wonders if some prophecy is being fulfilled. When it comes to lunar cycles, there is significance to, of course, every astrological change within the soul system in our relation to Galactic Central Point. I'm sure that prophets like Nostradamus, Edgar Casey, there's been a few out there, I think, that have hit the nail on the head about a few things with in astrological terms. But at the same time, Columbus got kicked out of the United States. Oh, not the United. Columbus got kicked out of Florida and crashed on an island, and then used an eclipse to fool the natives into thinking he was God, so he could get a ship to go back to Spain and get arrested. So I mean, it all depends on the information being held by the scam artist in what's going on.
That's true, and that kind of foreshadows the topic later on. So that's interesting you brought that up.
Yeah. Angela. So I'm gonna try and remember your name now because I've totally snapped on the pussy joke. Angela says, right, narcissists are notorious for distorting religion as a means to manipulate and gaslight you. Yes. And it's something that I hate to see, because I know people like Enter the Unfamiliar. He doesn't stream anymore. He was a good friend of ours, Fourth Wave.
Miss that guy.
Part of our crew. But he does Christian mysticism. Go check out Enter the Unfamiliar's channel and look at those live streams if you guys are Christian and you're into that. I mean, everything from the ancient biblical histories, Nephilim, and it was a whole culture. It's a shame he doesn't stream anymore, because it really was a great show. But I have friends like that, like Sporky News Podcast. I have friends that are Christians, deeply spiritual Christians, who give me hope. I'm Wiccan. All right, I know. Please don't unsub. Okay, I'm a pagan man. I've been pagan since I was a teenager, and so I kind of wrestled back and forth because I was Methodist, and then I kind of found my own path. But I still went to church, and I still did activities, and I still went out and celebrated holidays as they're colloquially celebrated. But I've also dealt with a lot of religious bigotry. I've dealt with getting Bibles thrown at me, told I was going to hell, even every now and again on this channel, though, people that'll come through in the comments and be like, "Oh, look at the symbol on there. You're evil." Like, you're Satan. I'm like, who is the evil person here? Coming to me and having to point out that you think I am damned and going to hell.
Because casting the first stone.
Right. I mean, how often? Coil. I mean, we see a lot of that in today's world. I know you're a student of history as well, but you look at the Middle Eastern situation that's going on, which is like a melting pot of Abrahams killing each other for thousands of years.
Yeah.
How do you look at that as a spiritual person? People killing each other because my God's better than my God has a bigger dick than your God. How do you look at that? How do you see that?
Well, there's two different ways I look at that, because kind of like I said at the beginning of the show, if you feel like you have to have moral superiority over somebody else because they're interpreting source in a different way, then to me that speaks to me that you don't understand source yourself. But number two, especially with the Abrahamic guys, you had other beings that were copying the name of God and fighting humans against each other for their own amusement, essentially, and for natural resources.
You're going Enter the Unfamiliar back in the day, right there. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's my understanding. All the national gods that you used to read about were reiterations of the pantheon that was here. We know them as the Anunnaki and the Nephilim. They translated into different names as the memories were handed down, because the people writing the books had experiences in different corners of the earth, so they started to know these beings by different names, but the result's always the same. They set up a city center. They set themselves up as a national city-state god, and then they order the humans to go out and attack other city centers, because they're fighting over the supremacy of their own blood quantum. It's really quite interesting.
Yeah. You know what? Because one of the reasons I love you so much is because you take me here. I was here. You took me here. You. How do you? So a few weeks ago, Mortal Coil said something that really struck me that I didn't. That I came to understand and appreciate. He said I was married to Gaia, and I'm a terrestrial thinker. I practice an earth-based religion, earth-worshiping based religion. Right. And so I'm very into the cycles of the year and the those holidays and the changing of the seasons and our place in the soul system. Whereas Coil has a very universal way of seeing things. It's very it's extraterrestrial in the way that he views things. And
I've been around.
Right, yeah, he's his intergalactic stud right there. So I said, if you guys want to hear about his encounters with ETs, Mortal Coil is a person who has had encounters with extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
I have not. I look at you were talking about our connection to source, and I think this goes into how I view what's going on. So, being married to Gaia, I look at the Earth as our home. This is our chrysalis. This is where we're transforming into a higher being.
Mother.
We're all trying to reach Christ consciousness, and I think that's our mission. So when I see people using faith, using gods, or their version of source against one another, it is the same thing as casting black magic. It's the same thing as wishing something bad against someone, or it's causing harm. You are hurting yourself because we are all connected. That doesn't mean we all agree. It definitely doesn't mean we all live in the same experience, because we're not. But we are all part of source. We are all part of God. God is everything. The word is everything. And for me, that means light, dark, in between, indifferent in the way that I see it. There's no separation between the polarities. It is all God. It is all source. So in that way, when I see people using different doctrines of faith to justify taking lands, killing children, doing whatever to the mothers, destroying other people's societies, committing genocide, I see them as hurting themselves. Like, that is true evil. And I don't care what church backs you, what mosque, synagogue, temple, pantheon backs you. And this is not something, to me, that is an example in the last 2,000 years. I know I'm Christian heavy, and that's because I'm Wiccan. But it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. You can go back to any of the ancient times and see the same thing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's how I see source. That's how I see God. Like, we are all a part. So, like, this dude came through. This one of my Christian subscribers came through and left an awesome comment. And I don't think he thought that I was going to take to it. It wasn't aggressive. It came from a place of wisdom and peace, but it came from a Christ perspective. And I was like, though I don't agree with you, bro, that is a lot of wisdom, because there's wisdom to be found there. There is wisdom to be found in all of the books and all of the doctrines, all of them. And so, when I responded to him, he was like, dude, thank God somebody gets it, or somebody understands it. I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. I was like, thank you for giving me some more wisdom and insight on what God is, from your perspective and how your relationship with the divine.
Yeah. One of the most powerful truisms I've ever heard, that I've taken with me since I read it, is all things are part of the one thing that is. So when you're talking about harming another in the name of God, you're actually harming yourself, because there is no difference between you and the other. It's just a matter of biology. We're all animated by the same spirit, just having a different trip.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back far enough. So I believe in this thing called the great breath of the universe. And, you hear Hindu people talking about this sometimes. But separation is essentially a way for the source to experience itself as something else other than it is, because it employs a illusion of separation, right? And it explodes, and all these different soul essences go out and go have lives on different planets, right? And then it might take a couple billion years, a couple trillion years, but eventually all life starts to realize that it's all one. So then we come back together, and it's this like reunion of ecstasy, and that's on a spiritual level, because physicality is one of those illusory tools that we use. I know it seems serious, and like, if you think about your body getting harmed or killed, it's like frightening, because that's the reaction of your organism. But your spirit has done it all before. Especially on this planet, a lot of us has done this a couple times and has come back to assist in it happening once again. So, yeah, definitely harming somebody else because you disagree with them on spiritual level about what source is, uh, only serves to harm the self. You know.
Exactly. Now, humans are not perfect. And so the way that I understand, the way that I look at it in that way, as far as our connection to source, is that when people make the wrong choices, sometimes you have to. Like I look at one of the things that I've said over the last year as I've been learning and healing and becoming a better version of myself is, like, to a point, I made the decisions or didn't commit to the healing that led me to be manipulated by someone. And then I made the choices to ignore red flags, and I made the choices to keep believing and keep going back or keep letting them back in or whatever the case was.
Oh, yeah.
And so that entity, that person is dark, right? They're a destructive force in my life. And I had to turn that around and be like, well, actually, I'm kind of thankful for the lessons that I learned about me and how to become a stronger and better version. And I'm still learning those things, but like what you come to, like, necessary evil, right? Or necessary darkness.
Mm.
And some people, I think that because of the decisions that they make in life, they haven't healed, they haven't done what they had to do. They decide to prioritize ego, like a narcissist, prioritizes ego, and then excuses hurting others to the point where they create their own world. They manifest and do their own illusion reality. That is also a part of God. That's a part of the system that's happening because we have to learn. That person's going to learn in this life or the next. I'm a reincarnationist in my beliefs. I believe in the cycles. And so at this time, that person had lessons they had to learn, had things they had to heal up. And because they made the decision not to try and be better, I probably would have learned other lessons, and so would have they. But because they didn't, I learned what I had to learn because I chose to resonate high. I chose to go in a better direction. So, as horrible as it is to think that, without conflict, you do not grow. Without adversity and strife, you do not. If we were all living in utopia, all right, Eden got messed up because they were bored. All right, Eve was bored. That's kind of my theory on it. Oh, what's this? I've been doing the same thing every day for 100 years. What's this? And then she decided to eat the apple, so to speak. Like, what do you think? What do you think about? Is there necessary evil? Is there necessary darkness in the world, Chloe?
Well, I agree that it does take struggle and strife to evolve spiritually. And even if you have multiple lifetimes, sometimes you can struggle with the same set of core issues. Now, it's an interesting dynamic that when, let's say, somebody chooses to act out of darkness, okay, and I don't know if you'd call that being evil or whatever, but if they have tendencies,
darkness,
tendencies towards service to self instead of service to others. Say you go through a phase where you need that in order to propel your own growth, you will summon those people to you. And sometimes even before we're born, we set up agreements with people like, hey, if I turn this certain if I turn this certain age and I still haven't figured this shit out, I need you to come to me so that we could explore it together. And it is I suppose looking at that way as an intellectualization. I'm not trying to say that your feelings and your experience as you went through it, especially if those of you are on this channel because you're healing from trauma. I'm not saying that stuff is just like, it doesn't matter. That's all very real stuff. But what does matter is how long you choose to subject yourself to it. And did you actually learn something from it? Or are you going to go out and recreate it with somebody else once again?
Right. And I think rebalancing is another aspect, right? So you can understand that you have been through an experience that has been traumatic. And you as a person felt a certain way because you felt you were under attack or you were being broken. But there's a flip side to that coin. And that flip side may be built on illusions, but still, some things may not have been as bad as you thought, or for reasons that you had thought, because of the experiences happening on the other side of that coin. Now, that doesn't mean go back to that coin. That doesn't mean go back to it or talk to it again.
If you're determined to act out like a victimhood mentality or make yourself a scapegoat, then you're going to find actors to help you do so. And
Yes.
it might not be like your ex-wife or whoever. It might be somebody at work. It might be, somebody at school, somebody who's just like around, but not necessarily like central to your own experience. You'll even go and find a stranger to help you act it out on if you had like a shitty Wednesday kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dude.
This show's going a little bit different than I thought it was going to go, and I'm glad it did. This is why Coil's here. You guys should see all the tabs I have. I got Zeitgeist, Christianized sites.
Well, we could certainly get into some of that stuff, but I think a lot of those, you touched on like the Adam and Eve kind of myth, and there is some truth to some of that, but it's a little bit more complicated than the simplistic version that we're handed down. So religious symbolism and religious mythology isn't necessarily always connected to ultimate reality. It takes a little bit of digging, but you also have to realize the stories that's been handed down has been handed down in certain forms and given certain spins to it so that we don't start thinking too much about it. We just kind of accept it as like a Sesame Street kind of thing.
Well, it's because you're indoctrinating dependent upon a pantheon, whatever cult, whatever religious cult it may be. You want people to adapt to that cult. You want them to give alms, or give to their collection plate, so to speak. Whether it's ancient Egypt, Greece, whatever it is. Dig it.
And if you arrive as a conqueror, it's necessary to wipe out the memory of the population that you're trying to conquer, and then replace it with whatever you want them to believe.
But yet, at the same time, there are universal truths that exist. I mean, there's actually different facets to that. In the direction that you were going right there, which I dig, and I'm on that. And those are things like Easter and Christmas. It says very clearly in biblical texts that Jesus was born somewhere around June, July, somewhere around there, right? Mm-hmm. But they change it to the winter solstice because people were celebrating the winter solstice all over pagan Europe at that time.
Yep.
So you make those changes, and there's two things about that. One is you actually save the previous religion, the old ways, by adopting and changing those holidays or those traditions. There was a time in America. There was a time in France. Christmas was illegal. First off, and I'll tell you what, 1600s France Christmas was the shit. Okay, because it was just like Halloween. Okay, it was just like Samhain. Everybody would hide in the church. All the good people would hide in church and pray for the heathens outside. Meanwhile, the heathens were drinking, giving each other gifts, lighting Yule logs, having sex in the streets. France, 1600s, Christmas, banging. But there's also, like Christmas from in America. There's time and places in America where it was outlawed. Your local pastor could come to your house, see a Christmas tree, and would be like, "No, you're going to jail." Like that. That's so. It all comes down to localization. But saving those traditions by adopting them is great. And that has happened all over the world. I'm just focusing on my own faith's history, so to speak.
Definitely. But there's whole groups of like religious symbolism that's no longer understood because people are just accepting that, the Easter bunny has something to do with eggs. And they don't even know like the etymology of the word Easter. So it's just like
symbolism.
Yeah, it's just a day that you have to go and buy a card for your mother and like a basket for your kids, but think about what it really was. Fertility,
fertility, right. But in that way, right? So you have like the resurrection. That's when they celebrate the resurrection of Christ. Is that Easter? Because that's the resurrection of the light. People have been doing that for thousands and thousands of years, celebrating the fertility. The egg is a symbol of the universe. Yes. The rabbit is a symbol of fertility. Yes. That's why those things are incorporated. So it's natural for a burgeoning Christendom, however you see it, to adopt that holiday that nobody's going to stop celebrating because it's been in their tradition for hundreds of generations or 50 generations.
Yeah.
And change it and Christianize it. That saves the tradition in a way. Like, not that I agree with it being distorted, but it saves the tradition. Another aspect of it is universal truths.
Mm-hmm.
Universal truths that are the Great Flood. I always use that example because every ancient civilization, every single one talks about the Great Flood.
Yeah.
And it happened. That is a generational trauma.
It's a universal memory, like archetype. Yeah.
Right. Because it destroyed civilization. It destroyed the Younger Dryas civilizations. Well, I mean, I guess it was pre-first flood, because it was a flood, then it was the Younger Dryas, and then it was a flood, right? So there was like that 900,000 year lull between the two floods, where civilization was trying to rebuild itself, and then it got wiped out again. And then the next time we have really written texts are on clay tablets from Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia, yeah, the Fertile Crescent. So, I mean, we've reached technological apex and destroyed ourselves a few times.
A few times, right?
Yeah.
And terrestrially, I look at that as, Gaia or God resetting the earth, kind of like the way that the Christians look at it. It's a language I understand, and because it's a wisdom and it's a truth. But Coyle will take it to the next level and tell you about getting asteroids being hurled at the freaking planet by lizards.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Antarctica shifting positions as the Earth experienced a pole shift. And then even like the ice sheet sliding off into the ocean and creating tidal waves. There's a lot of crazy history in prehistory.
Yeah. Coyle, if you check out Sporking's show last night, they were talking about Antarctica and the maps that were out the 1600s and before that, like the ancient Chinese
maps.
Yeah, the rivers, the mountains, the animals, everything. It's insane.
It is, man. There's a lot of that stuff is said to be preserved in tombs after the fall of Atlantis. They knew shit was coming, so they set up an archive specifically to preserve some of that knowledge. But it makes me wonder, this whole like Age of Aquarius thing and like the maturation of our species, if at some point we're going to receive like because essentially what you're saying is like humans can't agree on what source is and what our history actually is, so we argue and butcher each other. If at some point as our species mature, if we're going to have the opportunity to learn what the real truth is, and I believe so. I think it's happening individually through spiritual and off-world contacts, and even if you care to dig far enough into your religious mystical symbology, you can find those truths. It's just going to be through the filter of man instead of coming from spirit or source. The other thing about source is that it's conscious and it's alive. You can connect to it and learn things. And the source, the force, I don't really think that that's too big of a stretch.
I listen. Star Wars was my spiritual go-to. Star Trek was my humanistic go-to. It's real quick. I just want to say hi to Mr. Tickle Trunk. Came in the chat and said #Peg in Europe. He spelled it the wrong way.
Yeah,
we still gonna do this, huh? Look, I'm trying to get away from that. I'm trying to. I might as well embrace it, right? What the fuck? Nikki said bunnies don't even lay eggs. I know. Look, myths are not supposed to make sense. All right. Well, some of them aren't supposed to make sense. Samson got his hair cut off and lost all his power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Santa wears red because of Coca-Cola.
Mr. Tickletrunk says today showing your butthole on OnlyFans is a symbol of fertility.
I don't know about that.
A goatsy is a goatsy. My buddy, who's went to jail and I haven't seen him since, he didn't like his neighbors, and he would go outside and do that to his neighbor's house at random. And I'm like, why? Nobody wants to see your ass. That's disgusting. All right, bad story. Sometime I'll tell you guys about the story of seeing an angel while I was masturbating. Okay, so Mr. Trunk also says, I said, Scott, let me tell that story. He said, no, Steve, don't tell it. I've watched these. I've never watched these because I have no desire to talk spirituality, but I figured, why not today? Well, we're going to go over history too, Mr. Tickle Trunk. So you're welcome, my atheist friend, to chime in, because we are going to cover a little bit of how spiritual narcissism destroys other cultures, is used as a platform, is used as a way to assume wealth, power, dispense bigotry, abuse women. You know, so there's definitely aspects of this that I definitely could get your perspective on. I want to go back real quick past pagan Europe, and there was a comment up here I really wanted to see. Thank you, Phil, for sharing Enter the Unfamiliar's link. Real quick, Are You Real said, a religion is something to be embraced without force. Yes. Yes. Because if it's forced, that isn't, what is it? That's no consent. All right. And we know how we feel about consent.
Right.
You should give consent, for something you want to do. And if somebody's trying to ram,
the root word of religion is well, not religion. The root word of worship is to work for, and ritualizing your approach allows you to recreate the same sort of fields and effects over and over again. But that actually has a lot to do with the reptile, like the ordering of the reptile brain. Yeah.
Really
interesting stuff. Yeah, well, the part of you that creates habits and that likes to I guess perform rituals has a lot to do with stroking that part of the brain. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't have benefits if you do it with like conscious intent, because like I say, it helps you recreate and reinforce fields over time. But there is a more in the moment version of that. And see, you and I have talked about martial arts and Asian thought and things like that. I think being in the moment is also as important as creating regular ritual. And even if you're not applying like magical intent to it, the act of doing the same thing over and over again sort of cements energies in life anyway. So interesting stuff.
I believe that. Absolutely. That's a difference in perspective. Beautiful example of a different perspective. So, Coyle just said, even if you have no magical intent, doing something over and over again creates effect. So to me, that is magic. Like, to me, source is magic. Everything is magic. Doing something over and over again. As I'm writing this book, I am creating magic. I am creating, prosperity. I am putting my words down into something that I am going to be projecting out into the world as as a written representation of my subject matter. Doing something over and over again, praying, like when people, so like something that I would always say when I would encounter a bigoted, a religious person, I'm going to pray for your soul. Don't put black magic on me. Like, you don't understand. You're putting a negative intent. You want to change my will. You want to change my perspective and who I am because you have a negative observation, a negative belief of who I am based on how I think and pray.
Well, do you think
that's black?
Do you think Christopher Columbus using the eclipse as he did, is that black magic too? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
I believe that as well. I mean, he basically used knowledge that was not known to the indigenous population to instill fear and to create a false perception about who he was as a person. And that to me is a very clear example of exactly what we're talking about. I have an understanding that you don't, so to you, what I do seems like magic.
Yes, right. Yeah. Just as an alien tech or extraterrestrial tech coming here, and being displayed before a layman or a earthborn person, terrestrial person, would seem like magic.
Absolutely.
Which I think has been the cause of many of the stories that we have had from ancient tombs and texts regarding the gods or the demigods.
Totally.
But when you go back, okay.
I was gonna say my icon's a crystal skull, so I totally get that.
We were talking about the crystal skulls last night on Scott's channel, man. We
Were
were
you?
talking about about the amount of information that can be encoded into quartz and crystal, and the
Yeah,
crystal skulls, and how they're probably the genuine ones, not the mocks.
right.
Hold information that we have yet to be able to tap into, which goes to my belief that ancient Civ used more earth-based tech, stone, rock, gem, gold powder, things like that,
Mhm.
to create their civilization, their technology.
Well, how much quartz crystal is in granite, and that's what they use to build
Right.
the understructure of the pyramids. And they lined it with limestone and put a gold cap on it. But I mean, underneath all that shit was quartz granite, which
And
contains
limes
thousands of tons of quartz crystal. Thousands.
and the limestone caverns beneath them that water would flood and come out of, which creates that creates energy.
Yeah,
Um,
electrical dynamo.
right,
Absolutely.
right, and then it rose up into the pyramid, and then the central chamber had radon. Was it radon that it emitted?
Mm-hmm.
The radiation that was used in the power generation of power. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the obelisks were transfer devices for free energy, guys, and they knew that. The ancient people knew that. Tesla knew that.
Yep.
That's why we don't have free energy right now. Tesla figured out those methods used by the ancients, recreated them, could harmlessly send electricity through the air from one point to another,
Yeah,
with no cables.
I have a really good
Gone.
presentation on this. If you go to my live channel, it's about 58 minutes long, but it has like the three pyramids in Egypt overlaid with the stars of Orion's belt. There's a whole scientific dissertation where they went in and figured all this shit out, and this is what we're referring to.
And what was Orion's belt called in the ancient times? Do you know that answer?
Well, back in Egypt, it wasn't Orion; it was Horus.
Well, and that's connected too, right?
Yeah.
Horus is the solar deity of the Egyptians. Horus was born of a virgin and traveled the land. He was baptized by Enoch at 13. He traveled the land with 12 followers. He performed miracles. It's a very similar story, all the way up to the crucifixion and the resurrection, all of it. And that's a story that goes on over and over and over again, that you can find from many different solar deities. There is a truth there. There is a truth in the Messiah, the solar Messiah story, and that's why we still have a solar Messiah to this day, in whatever form it may be. But I was talking about Orion's belt it was called the Three Kings. If you follow the Three Kings on December 22nd, you follow the Three Kings on December 22nd, it leads to the rising of the sun, the resurrection of the sun.
That's right.
Which happens on the 25th.
Well, it's interesting too. The layout of the pyramids were made to mirror the stars Alnatak, Alnalam, and Mintaka. And then if you go further south, there's structures that like they use the River Nile to represent the Orion arm of the galaxy, essentially.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, dude. I wish I had a computer and I could send you some of these graphics, man. It's
well, tell me what it is and I'll look it up.
Basically what you want to look at is the Giza complex, the River Nile, and then Orion and the Milky Way galaxy. You should be able to find a map where it shows all those overlaying structures and its corresponding sites on planet Earth, because the Orion group was very heavily involved in seeding those civilizations. So it's no wonder that they would choose to make monuments out of those things. Plus, they put the Great Pyramid at the exact center of landmass on planet Earth. So,
that crazy,
somebody had a bird's eye view of that whole.
Yeah, I said this last night. It's amazing what heathens in loincloths can do, right?
Right. Some Hebrews with logs.
The stories are so unbelievable. And that's another thing that really pisses me off. I don't, in as much as I don't care that the Christ story is a retelling of an ancient pagan myth, and a lot of that has to do with them taking over past civilizations, and in some cases committing genocide, which is horrible. But it's a continuation of that story, right? But I don't like how the recognition of the factual recognition of where it came from, like just dismissing that wholeheartedly. You can believe in a god or a version of God or however you want to say, and still recognize the history leading up to the mythos. Like it's all divine.
Totally.
And so in the same way that drives me a little nuts, because again, it's used by spiritual narcissists to point the finger to the people and go, "You're the devil. You don't."
Yeah. Well, I think
historians and archaeologists who do not account for the obvious farces that Jewish slaves were used to build the pyramids and that kind of stuff. Like there are universal truths that exist. There, you can point the finger at something and say this isn't right. This story just doesn't add up.
No,
much of the way of go ahead, brother.
Well, there's a certain amount of power if you decide that you want to practice a specific religion that you go through when you understand like what all those mythologies and symbologies actually are. But a lot of times it takes like a quote unquote lifetime to climb through all the mystery schools if that's what you want to dedicate yourself to learning. Just like look at the people who study Kabbalah and look at the people who study Freemasonry. They spend their entire lifetime trying to climb through the degrees before they get told the truth about what source actually is. And then by that time, they're like, well, we've just been like looking at the pineal gland and the third eye the entire time.
Dang it.
Yeah, man.
I'm having problems finding this.
Let me see if I can find one. I might be able to text it to you.
Don't do
something.
That. You sure? Because you'll kick off. I don't want you leaving. You're the brain of this operation. All right, hold on. I'll find it. I'll find it.
Yeah, you're just looking for the planning of Egypt and Orion. I'm just scared that most of the graphics that'll pop up are just going to be representative of the Great Pyramids and not show the other.
Here's an interesting one. Hold on, I got something interesting actually. Open image in new tab. Let me see.
Like even like temples where the nebula is represented and where Betelgeuse is represented and where Rigel is represented. All of those things should be. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're okay. No, I was finished. Go ahead.
Do you remember how we were talking about the structures in the United States, in Washington D.C. was set up,
Yes.
using ley lines, pagan.
Yep.
Yes, here's an image. I found it. The Giza pyramids, the World Trade Center, in comparison with Orion's belt, the old World Trade. Look at that, dude. Look at that.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and it's interesting that it was destroyed. Huh.
Yeah, that's very nuts. All right, I'm gonna keep looking for that picture. Real quick, let me go to the chat. Just I don't want to miss anything. I know a couple people had some things to say.
Yeah, you got some really interesting stuff in the chat.
Yeah, let me look at this. Hold on, let me take this down. Stop sharing. So we have the Book of Enoch is interesting because the Watchers could be viewed as the UFOs we see all the time. That's a cool question.
Yeah, I agree. Enoch also is about taking a human off world and showing him the mysteries of heavens, and sometimes that deals with like visions and dreams. And the early Christian church, like the Council of Nicaea, all that kind of stuff, they wanted to discourage the use of that sort of skill set because again, it connects you to source and it leads you to other sources of information that might not necessarily agree with what Constantine's goal was. The other thing I wanted to point out was there are still instances in the Bible where you can find things that look like UFOs, like the burning bush, like Jacob's ladder.
The burning chariot.
The burning chariots, yeah. And even some of the depictions of what angels are supposed to look like with 1,100 eyes and all that kind of stuff. If you're seeing
crazy. That's in there?
Oh yeah, dude. If you see that sort of stuff and it talks about if you encounter something like that, but your only frame of reference is like you have like a staff and a flock of sheep, then how are you gonna explain it? You would explain it in terms that you understand. Just like even now, like we have uh our modern myths, which sadly have been corrupted, but we can describe what a starship is because we can conceptualize of it. Even something like the Death Star, we understand that that's something that's size of a heavenly body, and it can move through space, and it has billions of beings on it. We've created a context in which to consider that stuff. So our version of what that would look like if we wrote the Bible today would be completely different.
No doubt. Let me go
Yeah,
through
dude.
another question for you while I'm looking for this. Appreciate you. What's up? Thank you, Ronald Cully. Thank you so much for being here, man. Appreciate you. I'm not bringing that up again. Let's see. 1 second. How long have they had lasers? Because I saw reports of some old airships with lasers starting fires.
Oh, totally. Lasers are pretty simple technology if you think about it. From what I understand, from what I've researched, and this isn't something I've been told. This is something that I read. The early lasers that we acquired came off of the Roswell crash, as did night vision and fiber optic cable. Fiber optics really tripped them out when they first saw it because it's like you're waving around these wires that have a light that just doesn't stop, and it wasn't doing what Edison told us that electrons should be doing. So yeah, there were all kinds of different weapons. There's actually records of nuclear weapons being used in India and the Middle East. You can still find places where there's like traces of radiation and like black glass.
From the atomic,
yeah,
from the atomic explosions that happened out there.
Yeah,
from 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, old technology, man.
Yeah, old tech. Okay, let me look. This Tucker Trunk says, I like history, just not spirituality. In my mind, I get why it exists and why it's healthy for to lots of people. Well, I mean, and from my spiritual perspective, that's because in this lifetime, that is not you are not meant to have that experience. There are other lessons, there are other growths within your spirit, your soul that you need to go through in order to achieve that place. And I don't give it. You're a good dude. You're one of the best people I've ever known. So I know you're not a soulless demon.
Yeah, well, you're asking insightful questions, and that's sort of why I present myself as a savage spiritual, because if you're always talking in holier than thou terms and you can't bring it down to the language of common people, and I not to insinuate that you guys are common, if you're listening to something like this, you're probably uncommon. But if you can't talk in the vernacular, then it tends to become this holier than thou experience, and then you're just no better than the guys who wear capes and turbans and you know all feathers and crystal wands and all that kind of stuff. You have to be
Don't get
able.
on my crystal wand. Don't make me bust out my strong wand shaft.
I know, right? Well, but you have to make it relatable. If you don't make it relatable and you can't create the context, then there's no room for further understanding, and then you just become another weirdo who's withholding knowledge, and that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. And that doesn't help anybody. No. Knowledge is power. And if you're afraid of somebody having knowledge or experience, then you're the weak one. You're the person withholding it, or the person who fears to lose their power. Are You Real says, God gave man the freedom to worship him or not. Nobody has a right to condemn others to hell. No. I love comments like this. This will give me a chance to, it's actually give me a chance to show you guys how I translate, which is what I try to do when I encounter other faiths, be it like Native American, any other faith. I try to like correlate it to how I see things or how I feel things, because it's all valid. That statement is valid. That belief, valid. That is a part of our experience, our human experience, and a part of God, and that is actually an aspect of the divine. God gave man the freedom to worship him or not. Yes, God gave people source, birth, who we are, the universe, gave us, we have innately the choice to make, to be good or bad, to be selfish or selfless, to be compassionate and kind, or to be arrogant and egotistical. Like we make those choices ourselves. And the more you choose self-centeredness, anything that leads to self-centeredness, the less of a connection you have with God, with everyone else. You can either worship him by being a member of our society on earth, our collective consciousness, our clan, our home, our family on earth, or you can choose to be selfish, prioritize yourself, be egotistical, megalomaniac, narcissistic, and separate yourself from God. And nobody has the right to condemn others to hell. Absolutely. That is something that even I am dogmatic on it sometimes. At sometimes, right? I am absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like I put that meme out on my channel not too long ago of the clowns of the burning circus, and I was like, "Here's a coven of narcissists in their natural habitat." Like, like, I mean, that may be what it may be from my perspective, or it's a joke, kind of. It is, but. Like I call narcissist demons and so forth. The Christian who came through, I can't remember his name, that cat, such a wise cat, came through and left that comment. He was talking about, maybe narcissists are just people who are affected with demons. Maybe that they're just, they follow a dark path in life. He goes, but our job as followers of Christ is to be good to each other. Love thy neighbor, turn the other cheek. He was coming from that perspective of it. And that is really that's the high road to go. That's the high resonance. That's the Christ consciousness way to go. It really is.
It's
but
a good perspective to have. I always say that Buddha was not a Buddhist and Christ was not a Christian. Those were other people who came later and spoke in their name. So, yeah, I really resonate with that. There's another idea I wanted to put out there, and this might be a stretch of thinking, but just kind of roll with me. God or the source or whatever you want to call it created everything in the universe. Now, if God created everything in the universe, number one, what did he create it out of? If you want to call it a he, she, it. Number two, if God did create everything, why would God need anything? God already created everything. So just a couple of ideas.
That is so deep that I'm going to have to rebuke that by saying God has a penis. God has a long stroke. God's a man. There is a set of testicles on that deity. Okay? Vein and laid, penetrating. My God's dick is bigger than your God's dick, Corey. Okay?
We're going to have to fight over some camels over that one. Well, it's interesting, though. It's interesting, though. There is that thought that the primal force of creation was male, and then like the local force of creation was female, and that there was a union between sky and earth, and that's what created all that you see here. So that's something that's interesting to consider too.
You went Druidic and Native American with that one. I like it. Thank you for that comment. That's the beautiful comment. Absolutely right. Thank you so much, honey. We're going to go over this video that's going around on Twitter in a little bit as an example. Like I said, this show kind of went in a whole different direction. Thank you for being here, because I was about to come out 14-year-old Stevie. F these Bible throwing bastards. Look, because I come under attack. I have, and I'm not going to get too far. I don't want to talk too much on it, but I have come under attack for being a person of a different faith. And it even happened in the fandom menace, like where this big group of people who's fighting against our modern mythology is being used and perverted by hateful bigots who are smearing others with lies and projections. And then I'm dealing with people inside our own crews that are like, he's a witch, he's evil and yucky, and nothing he says is right. He's Satan, the contradiction of it made me insane. And people that will, because this is what spiritual narcissism will do. People will hate you, right? They may get caught up at first. They may get caught in today's society, because this is what happened with me as far as like the TFM crowd. They will get caught up at first and go, well, he's a witch. He prays differently. He's evil. That's ungodly. And then they'll back off from that, because people will start saying, that's kind of bigoted to say. And then they will go about smearing you. They will go about talking bad about you, finding any excuse whatsoever not to like you, other than their own projection, their own bigotry, their own spiritual narcissism. And that is something that is used as an excuse and has for a long time in many different ways across every age of the earth. I guarantee there's been at least one effed up tribe of people who has that way of thinking. But it's been used as an excuse to, among many things, to value women, to keep women in their place. Because I think deep down, to a fearful man, to a man who is not comfortable in his own masculinity, who is more concerned with his ego and having power over anything else, the idea that though we are stronger, we were built for labor, we're built to be stronger, stronger physical beings. Women create life. Okay, they go through a pain we'll never know, physical pain, birth, and they literally create life. We plant the seed in that garden, and that garden grows that life. And sometimes, when you have societies that are very patriarchal, they will demean women, especially if it's a goddess cult. If a bunch of monotheistic patriarchs come across a goddess cult, like the ladies of Avalon. So if you guys don't know, this is a story I like to tell now and again. If you don't know, Avalon Isles was the home of the Dryads. The Dryads were the opposite of the Druids. Druids were patriarchs, Dryads were matriarchs. The Lord and the Ladies, kind of like where modern neo-paganism Wicca comes from, is from that Celtic mythos. So you have the Druids were targeted first by the Catholic Romans. Well, not the pagan Romans at first, but then the Catholic Romans, because they were other men. This was an institution of males, of priests, of druids. So they had to wipe them out. The women had no power. So they left the ladies of Avalon alone. Actually, Avalon was one of the last centers of power aside from the Vikings, centers of pagan religious power aside from the Vikings in the ancient world, in the Dark Ages. One of the things that they grew on the Isle of Avalon were apples. They had apple orchards. It was a symbol of the mother. It's the symbol of their goddess, their representation of the divine, the divine feminine. And one of the reasons was, if you cut an apple at its equator, it has a pentacle inside of it, a natural pentacle. When they began to attack, before putting Glastonbury Castle on top of Avalon and doing all the attacks on that religiously that they were doing as they were converting Britannia, they changed the story of the Adam and Eve story. Originally it was a fig. All right, it's a Middle Eastern fruit. There's a fig. That's what was given to Eve by Satan, by Lucifer. They changed it to an apple because of fear of feminine power. And that story has a lot to show about the pantheons of women that existed in the ancient world and how they were viewed, vilified, and destroyed. Even the image of Satan that we have today, with the horns of power and the burning underworld. Fire, it was a powerful element. The realm of fire is a very powerful element to the ancient pagans. The horns of power, used everywhere. You pretty much see it. That's why they kind of throw it, jokingly. It's on Viking helmets and things like that. The horns of power have been used for forever. And they kind of adapted what symbols that were powerful to the ancients in such a way that vilified them, that made them symbols of the devil or Lucifer or hell. Now, in that type of smear campaign, that is a smear campaign. Like that is on a people's that has created traditions and bigotries that have existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. And even when you have spiritual revolutions, like the spiritual revolution, when you have spiritual growth like the spiritual revolution in the early 1900s, it always seems to be countermanded by religious fervor. And like one of the pushbacks from the spiritual movement, which happened in the 20s and 30s, the aughts, 10s, 20s, 30s, early 1900s, was the adaptation of In God We Trust, One Nation Under God, was a pushback, was a conservative special interest pushback against spiritual evolution or, spiritualism, for instance. Coyle, where you going, man? I'm babbling. No.
Sorry, I'm
Well, there you
Batman.
are.
I just had
Oh,
to
it's Batman.
I had to take care of
Get
some
it done.
business real fast.
You gotta hold
Um,
on. You gotta take care of some business.
no, I
You're
already.
not stroking it on live, right?
Nah, not this time.
Okay. All right.
Nah, no, I didn't want there to be a echo from the bathroom. How about that?
Oh no, no, dude, you're fine. You're fine. If you're
Yeah.
dropping a deuce, just say I'm dropping. All right. So Jessica says, "I'm kind of atheist, although I believe that the divine God is probably a supreme tardigrade. Oh, tardigrade, supreme tardigrade, like from Star
That's
Trek Discovery.
yeah, that's what
Is
the
that what you're
people in
talking about?
That's what Alex Kurtzman thinks.
I look at see.
Oh, it is
Not
interesting to think of spacefaring megafauna. I actually think that
yes.
there's some version of astral cetacean out there that just kind of. You remember that episode of Star Trek where there were those things that they ran around and they ate asteroids, and then the Enterprise killed its mother, but then like the baby, yeah,
Yeah, attached itself to it. You
things like
throw her the
that, or
middle. Oh, Jordy.
yeah, or what was. You remember that other one where there was like a betazoid who was so psychic that he had to be alone all the time, and he was in contact with Gumto? Is that what he called it? He was, every time like Deanna had like a male interest, he was always kind of like a wiener guy, except for Riker, but he was like this blonde
Mm-hmm.
dude who was like so psychic that he couldn't shut it off. And like he was in isolation most of the time. Like I think Deanna had to go in there and create
Oh,
like,
the kid.
yeah, like Charles
Yeah.
barriers in his head to like keep people from overwhelming him. Yeah. Interesting
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, spacefaring megafauna, I think, are probably things.
So I think that okay, like from my the way that I've seen it, the way that I believe it, right? Is I don't look at God as a supreme entity, like I don't think God is a guy sitting on a throne in a cloud watching and counting how many times you masturbate. Like I just don't think that a supreme being is gonna take the time to do that.
No.
What I think God is everything. It is first off well beyond our ability to conceive. One of the stories I like in the Bible is from the Torah when it talks about like Moses or Noah or like one of the old prophets talking to God and how they would age, because first off they were speaking to Metatron because you can't speak to God, you have to speak to God's voice, the angel of God's voice. But just being in the presence of such an all-powerful, divine, wise being, for a human, ages you. It stresses you out. It stresses your entire system out.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's kind of how I look at it. Like Merlin, one of my favorite movies is Excalibur from 1979. I think it's 1979. One of my favorite lines from that is Merlin. He's talking to King Arthur, and he says, if you were to see the dragon all and whole, then the sight would burn you to cinders. I think that God is so beyond our infleshed experience that if you were to collapse everything, all knowledge, the word, the light, the way, if you were to collapse all of that into a single point that you could communicate with, you would die. You would just fall apart like paper.
The molecules of your body can't physically stand the stress. There's another really good movie from the 90s called Dogma where fucking what's his name? Not Matt Damon, but the other guy. He was a archangel who fell to earth and he started like murdering a bunch of people because he had lost faith in God. But God was unavailable to stop him because God had taken on human form, and that human form that he took on and ended up experiencing a coma.
Played skee ball in Jersey, by the way.
Yeah, but at the end of the movie, God woke up and happened to be Alanis Morissette. So take of that what you will. But the way that God destroyed the archangel was to speak using its own voice. So the sound literally ripped apart the physical vibration, which was the physical being of this person. Why can't I think of the other guy's name? He was Batman, and
he was Batman. I can't do it either. I can't do it. But that's because my mind is trying to remember Enter the Unfamiliar. guys, can't tell you enough. If my Christians out there, if y'all like Christian mythos, go check out his channel. He's got a lot of live streams he did from years ago, and they're so good. And like, he would talk about, he would talk about,
Ben Affleck. Thank you. Okay.
Ben,
the chat.
Thank
knows,
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat.
Okay.
But he would go through the angels and the archangels, and there is no. He would talk about there being an entirely different plane. I came to a Final Death Star. That was his first channel's name. I came to Final one time, and I asked him something about a situation that I was in, where I was had a female friend who was literally was being attacked by a demon. Literally, like, her ex was probably a narcissist now that I look back at it. Oh my God. But he was like one of those, he was like a malignant. He was a psychopathic type guy.
If he was sending beings after her, then yeah.
He was sending beings, absolutely. Like, she woke up next to me. We were in bed together. She woke up next to me. No, she was screaming in her sleep. That's what it was. And I calmed her down. And then she woke up startled. And long story short, I have the ability to dream walk. It's one of my abilities, is to be able to enter minds. And so I was doing that to soothe her. And while I was there, so she woke up and told me, she says I was running, I was scared, I was being chased. I said I felt terrified, and then I heard your voice, and then I saw your face. And saying it's okay, you're all right. He says, but then your face changed into a demon, and then it came at me again. So, like, while I was trying to soothe this person in their sleep using my ability, this demon that had been attacking her rescinded and then came back. And so at that point, and there was signs happening around us at the time that I read. But so I called him, right? Because I don't fighting demons ain't my thing. That's just not, something I've done. So I called the people that I know. I called Bear Nerd Fund, Native American, follows the red road. And I called Enter the Unfamiliar and asked him his opinion. So Enter told me, pray to Jesus. He said, get the Bible out, read these verses. This is what they're meant for. Believe it, Stephen. Have the person believe. You have to believe it. But his reasoning was, demonic entities are on a higher level. He said that's why he doesn't mess with magic. He was like, magic comes from another plane. That's a higher plane. And that's why we have angels. Angels are there to protect us and to regulate and keep the clockwork running on those planes of energy that we as humans are not supposed to enter into. But that's where he came at it. So if you guys are interested in that topic, please go check out his streams. I'm gonna call Jay. I'm gonna call him tonight. See how he's doing.
Yeah, tell him I said what up.
I absolutely will. Absolutely will. Because he needs to come back. Him and his hot Asian wife. He got a hot Asian wife and then went off and started making money in California. What the hell, man? Leave us out here. Well, I'm this Final Death Star and his hot Asian wife. But Final Death Star also, on a side note, with his wife, would go up into the mountains of California, and all the time, dude, I don't know what kind of energy this dude resonates. He would always get UFOs. He would always bring his cameras because he would always catch UFOs all the time. So.
Yeah, I did a stream with him where we actually went over some footage that he filmed with his camera. Not just pictures, but like, yeah. So
it's like, to me, so that's like one of the reasons why I took him so seriously is because, like, here's this deeply religious cat, not a bigot, not closed-minded. He's one of my best friends, like we were streaming together for the longest time.
Sure.
But had a whole different walk of life. His Christian belief is the heart. That's his heart. That's his spiritual heart, is his connection with Christ. And didn't hate me, didn't disparage me, didn't avoid me, didn't, none of that. Because he walked with Jesus. He walked with his God. And I walked with mine. And he loves me.
Yeah.
Even, you know what I mean? And I loved him, because in the end, we are all walking different experiences. And we are all connected to source. If you look at the teachings of some of the great messiahs, the solar messiahs, if you look at what they are saying, leading up to Christ and beyond, they're basically all saying the same thing. Love thy neighbor, be good to each other.
The golden rule.
Suffer no fools.
We're all one. We're all from the same source, and
we are.
First we kill them, and then we change what they said, and then we wind up in messes like this.
And we pervert them, and that's the saddest thing. Like if you look at the teachings of the Abrahams, like you look at like Muhammad, if you look at Christ, if you look at Joseph, you look at the teachings of some of these prophets or God, however you look at them, they're not saying go out and kill somebody. They're not saying go out and steal it's okay. Don't kill, don't steal, don't grape, don't do that. But it's okay if they don't pray the same way. They're not saying that. They're saying love them, lead them to the light, lead by example.
Yep.
Which is the philosophy that I believe. Lead by example. Be a good person.
It's much more powerful than retaliation.
It is. It is, and the longevity of it, and the wisdom and the connection with source you gain. Yes, and I'm saying that as someone who occasionally throws a hex up there now and again. Nikki Red says, "What is the third eye? What Mortal Coil? What is your third eye?"
That's the crown chakra that's adjacent to your pineal gland. Your endocrine system has all the major chakras that are forming a vertical power current, which you siphon in universal energy. It's analogous to what the Asians call the upper dantian, and it's associated with psychic and dream experiences, astral experiences, reading other people's minds, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you want to build on that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. I had to light smoke. So you will see, kind of going along the vein of religious narcissism and historical narratives that have been like rewritten or narratives that have been created, is that there are symbols of power that have always existed. That the elite, there is Coyle and I both come from the school that there is an elite 13 families. You can call them the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, but there are these families who have generationally kept power through monetary, socio-political, various means, trade, whatever it is. They maintain this hidden knowledge that they want to keep from us all. One of the reasons why you see the all-seeing eye, which is this symbol here. A lot of people see that and go, "Oh, the occult. Oh, that's vilification. That's the devil. That's they put this spin on it." Well, that's because this symbol is a very powerful symbol. Has been for thousands upon thousands of years. It's your third eye. Not only does it have the triangle, which is a symbol of power within itself, leading to the hexagon, but the hexagon. It is something that was used. It is a gateway between yourself and the spirit realm, your connection to it, your connection to God, which is everything, the spirit realm included. And so these knowledges are hidden or vilified.
You should find that one of the Eye of Horus, and then like the hippocampus. You know what I'm talking about?
The Eye of, okay, I'll look for it.
It's like a brain split down the middle, and it shows the structures, and then it shows the Eye of Horus, and they're like identical, dude.
Let's see, Eye of Horus. What was it? What was the rest of
it? Just put brain, and it'll probably
pineal gland.
Yeah.
Here it is. I see it. All right, hold on. I got it. It came right up, buddy. There we go. So explain. Explain that.
So that first one that has the gold on the bottom, and then the
this one.
Yeah, that one. So what this is it like I said, the pineal gland is the physical organ that the energetic third eye chakra is related to, and then that was represented by the Eye of Horus. There was a left eye of Horus and a right eye of Horus that had different mystery schools associated with it. And just like there's two different parts of the brain, one's more scientific and analytical and one's more creative and spiritual, whichever side you were looking at was basically whatever side of the brain you were training. the Egyptians actually like removed your brain after you died, and they believed like your soul was attached to your heart, and your heart actually has its own electromagnetic field and all that kind of stuff. But this is an instance where if you want to call it an occult symbol, like it actually mirrors a physical biological structure that we each have inside of each of us. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's a good explanation of the third eye. And for those of you who don't know, the Eye of Horus was the cross for the Egyptians. In a way, it was a symbol of their god, their solar deity. So I'm not going to get too much into that. It is interesting stuff. Let's go. Miss Pickle Trunk says, I had my angry face too. Now, after studying not only religions but faith, religion, history, and things act like social glue, and I don't care anymore. Some of it is social glue. After well, the identification of a culture, the self-identification of a culture, or the the expression of which can be used for as a pressure to convert other lands or extend borders beyond territory in order to use as influence. So yes, but there are universal truths that exist between each faith that I believe are there. They're ingrained in our society and have been for thousands of years because they are wisdom. They are basic truths.
When you get enough people working on the same problem and you're going to come up with similar solutions, it's that like thousandth monkey kind of thing. And even if you, and see, I don't subscribe to any world religions. I just walk through life. I have my own understandings and my own connection with source. That's really all you need. Because why would you have somebody else like come and try to tell you about you as an individual who, unless you wanted to. If you get off on that thing, that's cool. It's just, it's not my trip, and it doesn't have to be anybody else's trip. And I think it's a mark of a mature spirit that you don't force your understandings on somebody who hasn't asked for them, Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think there's a difference between trying to share an experience with God or faith or source from a place of love, where you're trying to give that love to somebody else, you're trying to give that wisdom or experience to someone else, and someone who does it because they have been told they must convert another person, or they must, change they must change their perspective. They must, like cults that go out there and say, it's your job to save somebody's soul. No, the F it's not. No, it is not. It's your job to lead by example and be a good person.
There you go. If their soul does not want to be saved, there's no way that you're going to do it. They're gonna walk straight in the fire, figuratively and literally. But
screw it.
That's the kind of thing that we were saying. Even if your body is destroyed, you're gonna have another opportunity. This isn't your last chance, fucking ever. You'll keep on repeating the situation until you transcend it.
Yeah, that's where so I'm not trying to offend anybody by saying this. Like I said, I'm a reincarnationist. It's just that I can't see attaining in one lifetime enough knowledge, wisdom, and experience to be put in a celestial stasis for all of eternity. I think that kind of goes against the idea of growth and the natural
totally.
cycles.
I believe that you could have a rest period if you want to, but
absolutely.
if you don't want to, you just it's kind of like a video game. You die on a video game, you don't get pissed off about it. You just respawn and you keep on playing. That's just a video game. Imagine the technology of the universe.
Right. The thing that Coil, I've said so many times, if I die, if I pass on and I arrive and I see St. Peter in the gates, I'm gonna be like, yo, bro, I needed more evidence. I'm sorry. I guess I'm done. Jessica says,
I bet your guidance is gonna show you that just to fuck with you.
Dude, don't do that. Don't say that. Jessica says, since tardigrades, since the most powerful life form is a tardigrade, they are definitely hardy. Jessica, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Tickle Trunk says the third eye is a stink eye. It's located between your lower cheeks. No, Mr. Tickle Trunk, keep it above the belt, sir. You know how difficult that is for me. Oh my God. And she said, the little guys are almost indestructible. Yes, they are. Jessica says the third eye might just be your imagination of what your vision sees. Do you think that a person's perspective in the matrix of life could create the illusion of there being a third eye?
I think that there's too much evidence over thousands of years that there are energetic and biological structures that support the idea of a third eye. Now they have different names and all those different languages, but again, consistently you have uh, people who have come up with similar knowledge sources, and they explain it slightly differently. But you look at Chinese medicine, you look at the Egyptian things that we just showed you, you look at what the Freemasons have been saying. You ask yourself, how come the Pope carries around a pine cone? Things like that.
The pine cone.
Yeah, dude.
Where's Papa Cotton to talk about the pine cone?
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother. Yes. I think it does have to do with your imagination and your vision. I have learned, Jessica, post narcissistic abuse recovery. I have learned to trust, like as we all do, trust your intuition. I don't know if when you go through a relationship with a manipulator, you ignore your intuition, you ignore the red flags, you ignore what your senses are telling you because you want to know, you want to believe that what the person is telling you is the truth. You want to believe that the future faking, and you want to believe that what they're selling you is the truth, and it's not. And we ignore our intuition, and it kind of creates a cycle of disbelief in ourselves as we do that. Now, as a person who has abilities, I was dealing with a person who also had abilities, so there was a lot of cross pollination of negativity that was going on and the cognitive dissonance. What I've learned since then for me is to trust my intuition. Trust it inherently. I do all the time. When I feel something, that's what it is. Until someone shows me different, or until something shows me different, that's what it is. And it's served me well. But it does have a lot to do with imagination and your vision and how you comprehend. Because remember, as we go through a recovery from narcissistic abuse, that we have to untangle the web that has been created inside of us, inside our minds, as we re-regulate our body's chemicals from fight or flight and the trauma. As you're reworking your mind, you also calm and understand to a point that there were cues that were happening you didn't see. There were things going on that you didn't see. Now, I'm not saying like sit there and invest a lot of your time into what the other person was doing, what the con artist was doing, but you do begin to understand that you saw things in some ways because you had to, just like when you were bullshitting yourself, rather than the reality of what was going on at the time. So your imagination, your ability, your third eye, if you are looking to work on your third eye, which is something CJ's talking about, if you're looking to work on your third eye, emotional control, your emotions cloud your vision. They really do. And as much as your emotions can be used as a vehicle for compassion, for love, for helping, for like good or bad things, actually, when you go into the darker realm, when you lose control of your emotions and you go into that darker spiral of depression and anger, you lose focus, you lose your sight, you lose connection with source, you lose those abilities. So emotional control is one of the lessons I believe is that we need to, as survivors and thrivers, to really grasp, because we were driven to a point of losing that control, or maybe we didn't have a good grasp on it before. I was a very passionate person, and I had to learn how to tame my passions in order to see things more clearly, to observe and understand what was going on without the slant that I required due to my intense passions, to create a bias within me to see someone as I needed to see them, instead of trying to understand the situation and what was going on. Whew, that was a mouthful. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. TJ says, what's the deal with people seeing a face near the moon when they zoom in? Your mind naturally creates faces out of things. That's why when you look at like leaves, branches, clouds, that's why you see things in the clouds. Our mind is designed to look for two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. It's designed to create a face.
I've done that looking at the popcorn on the ceiling or like the spots of paint on my wall. You can find patterns, and it makes me wonder if that's part of what scrying or gazing into crystal balls. If you're just seeing patterns with your psychic sense instead of your imagination. So interesting
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to see the difference between the two, because there's kind of like this disconnect between the rational mind and then the psychic mind. When
Sure.
you are, and the rational mind can be a vehicle into the psychic mind. And this is why, like, witch doctors and seers use psychedelics,
Yeah.
because they to separate that the walls that we build up as we begin to explore reality or are taught by our parents or who raise us what reality is.
Yeah. I
Jessica,
knew oh, sorry. I knew
okay,
when I was in college, I've had a lot of different careers. I was a massage therapist for about 8 or 9 years. And the guy that
great.
I interned with, he was from the Philippines. And what they call witch doctors out there were called mangihilots. And he would
Hmm.
often use his own willpower to overpower his patient's willpower, because you can also think yourself into believing whatever sub realm you want to. So it was
Hmm.
his job essentially to convince them that they had thought themselves into a corner and to let it go.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
cool stuff, dude.
kind of like a form of Reiki, right? Like,
Yeah, there's an energetic component to it for sure, but there's also like a physical, like laying on of hands component to it. And he was trying to work out a massage modality which involved it a little bit. But there's also things like traditional medicines and like how to, you know, make stuff like that were just incompatible with the massage modality. So
hmm.
we talked
Did you
about
ever
it
let him?
offline, but it was cool
Did you ever
stuff.
let him stroke you?
He demonstrated techniques on me, if that's what you mean, but we
Yeah,
kept the
that's what I
pants
meant.
on. Yeah, we kept the
What?
pants on.
Why? You didn't need to take it there. Jessica says. There was even a T-shirt that said "God is tardigrade." She's old as tardigrade. We need to look up some tardigrade. I'm going to find a picture of tardigrade now because you got me
Oh, they're
into it.
fascinating
Uh,
creatures, man. I was getting my kid into them, just talking about how hardy they are. They can live in outer space for a little bit. They can live on the moon. They can live in top of the mountains and the bottom of the sea. Really cool things.
okay, we are okay. That's it. I mean, we're doing it. Jessica, you made this happen. This is all Jessica. All right, here we go. We're gonna have tardigrades up on the screen for a little bit.
There they are.
Let's. So that's why that's why they say they're all hiding anything from the public because everything is public now. I mean, well, not everything is public. The information's out there, guys. Go to the dark web. But it's heavily censored. It's heavily censored. It's heavily censored, just like the things on certain president's sons' laptops that lead
Mm.
them to islands where they do things to kids. It did, and the information's out there, but it's heavily censored.
It's interesting to think about how 1,000 years ago you had to actively seek knowledge, but like now there's
Mhm.
so much knowledge everywhere that you have to like sift through knowledge. It's really quite the inverse problem.
I must be way far back. I'm sorry. Let's see. Jessica says, plus, I think that if there were anything magical, it's not going to be easy to understand by human terms. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when it comes to like divinity, I mean, and for my mind, like that's why we have angels and guardian spirits. They are that's the conduit from the next realm above us to our third dimensional realm. Like there's something that can graze within the very top of our realm, something we can just barely see or come in contact with. That's how I see it. Um, CJ says, when I was a kid, I remember for the first time felt some sort of energy when talking to someone. It was almost hypnotic. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I can't remember any specific instances other than my mom calling me out on one or two things because she has the gift. But what opened me up was hearing a ghost at 9, like
Mm.
hearing a spirit straight up, bro. There is no way it was a human or anybody else. There was nobody near me, and something said it in my ear. The only human I was with was in that direction, 10 feet away, and she was a medium, and she was telling me to be quiet. Stephen, be quiet. Stephen, be quiet. Stephen, be quiet. And then, because her spirit guide didn't like me, I talk a lot, and I wouldn't shut up. And so this ghost came into my other ear and was like, I ran home, hid under my bed. I ain't playing. But it opened my mind up to the possibilities of other things and made me embrace the gifts that I have today. So Jessica says, if we're going to say soulless, we might be contradicting ourselves too. Because, oh boy, this card I can't read that. Immortal, help me out here. Don't make me look like a fool.
Descartes said, I think, therefore I am.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But I thought that was Shakespeare, wasn't it? No,
I am not sure. Y'all two are smarter than me I don't know about that. So yeah, you're right. So like I use soulless as a joke. In a lot of my videos, when I'm just being hyper, because I'm trying to make people laugh, to be honest. So the videos that I make when I'm being so hard on narcissists, because they don't deserve to be taken easy anyway. I am being hyperbolic about one or two things, but it's for comedic. It's for comedic reasons, and it's also so that you guys can vent. Because anyone who went through anything like I did needs to laugh. You know, when you're coming out of a traumatic experience or trauma. You know, and so I narcissists to me are people. They're not soulless. You know, they're not. They have souls. We all have soul. But your soul is diminished when you have a lack of connection to source. When you live in selfish, egotistical, self-centered, negative lies, when you get what you need to get by conning other people, lying, and you know you're doing it. You know you're being manipulative. You know you're doing this deep down inside. It doesn't matter if you've been lying to yourself for so long that you live in that lie. You know it deep down. Your connection to source knows it. God. In the God inside you, God, he knows it, and that reduces the potency of your soul to virtually nothing. I'm a strong believer that when you live in those negative forces over a long enough period of time, that you attract dark forces, what you would call demonic forces, and that they attach themselves to you, and then they infest you. They feed off of you. They use you as a vehicle to create chaos because you're already going the direction that they want to go. You're already being evil to other people. So, they're along for the ride, and they're going to help you out. They're actually going to give you abilities to help you further the damage that you're causing to others because you are damaging yourself, and they're getting off on it the whole time. That's how I see it. So I don't necessarily look at people as being soulless, but their connection to God is so cut off and limited that they might as well be. And that's. Do you have another take on that, Coyle? Like, what do you think about my idea on that?
Well, I get what you're saying as far as like a illustrative element. No, it's physically impossible to be alive and fail to possess a soul. If you didn't possess a soul, you'd be dead or you'd be AI. In either case, that's not really life, right? But there are those people who, like you're saying, they're disconnecting themselves from compassion and from service to others, and they exist only as service to self entities. You can, especially if you're sensitive to energy, you can pick up on that, and they're very easy to pick out. I even do it through distances. There's people and things and people on chats who I just never ever fucked with because I could feel their lack of compassion. And I'm at this point in my life where I know it's kind of cute that I'm on streaming, but aside from you guys, I don't really feel the need to explain myself or my beliefs to just like every motherfucker that I come across, because I also consider that to be rude, but a show like this is a different story. This is different. So
much in the same way that when we are in the same chat with Black Angus, we can feel that he wants us to bang a tranny with him, but we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. That's not our taste. I don't like chicks with dicks. It's not our thing. But to each his own.
No such thing as a chick with a dick. There's only a man with breast implants. Right? That's another Papa Cottonism.
Yeah, guys, if you are into tumultuous, hedonistic drama, go check out Black Agate Reviews. He's been a friend of ours for many, many years.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mr. Trunk says, do what George Carlin said. I worship the sun. I do. I literally do. It's always there. It's a source of life on earth. Just don't pray to it. I pray to Joe Pesci. I would pray to Joe Pesci. Because he gets shit done. But no, actually I do. One of my rituals, one of the things that got me through what I was going through, Mr. Trunk, was coming out every day and looking at God's sun, the sun disk, and being thankful and saying thank you and feeling blessed by his light and his power, because that is the masculine principle of the soul system, comes from the sun. And let's see, Are You Real says, narcissists are demonic entities. On the one hand, it's personality disorder, but on the other hand, it's a way of life to where these people feel that they can do no wrong. Well, let's actually touch on that. Because that's a good comment. Narcissists are demonic entities. I think for me, and I'll try and keep this short so Coyle can give his perspective. For me, narcissists are people who were groomed that way due to parents who traumatized them or went through some type of traumatic event in their childhoods, in their early life, that led them to create the narcissistic shell. And this is something that anyone is capable of, because narcissism is on the wheel of human emotions. Anyone can be narcissistic. I can be narcissistic. Anyone can.
Sure.
Right. But so there is a difference between being narcissistic and being a narcissist. When a person gets to a certain point in life and they have continued to prioritize the ego, the false ego, the narcissistic shell, and it becomes their way of life, absolutely, I'm on par with you. They become demonic entities. Their soul, as I said before, is reduced to such an insignificant point because they cut off their connection with source through conning and lying and future faking and manipulating and destroying other people and not taking any responsibility or accountability. That dark entities gravitate to them and they become kind of a lightning rod of demonic force. So yes, the reason, and in my mind, the reason why you see people. The reason why people explain seeing the black eyes of a narcissist when they go into rage, just like you see the glassy bright of a sociopath when they have full control over someone, is because at that point the demons in them have control, they're empowering them. I am a person who, Jesus, you know what? Fuck it. Coyle talks about banging freaking aliens. I'm going to come out and say something a little crazy that you might consider crazy. I have, through experience in my life, understood how to physically morph, how to use my energies in tune with other entities, guardian entities that I have, in order to change myself, make myself stronger, smarter, faster. And this can sometimes take on a physical manifestation, I have been told, and that I get cat eyes when I do this. This is my connection with those beings. If anyone is capable of this, a narcissist or a narcissistic person with the dark forces that they have within them, this is why their eyes go black when they go into rage. That's why that happens. The physical changes, the alterations is definitely a sign of possession. So on one hand, it is a personality disorder. Yes, it is a disorder, but it leads to, all things are connected. Your mind, your body, and your spirit are all connected. All three of these things are connected. The sacred three, all right, the trinity of self. And so when you are possessed, when you've lived a life of evil and you are now working within dark karma and you have dark entities that work within you, they will manifest physically, spiritually, mentally. Coyle, any comments on that?
Man, I was just taking a bite of food. Hang on just a second.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll keep going. No, that's fine. No, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead and eat. There's a little tidbit from me. And it can be, and a lot of times people look at it as like a multiple personality disorder thing, and it's not. It's not as so much a multiple personality disorder in that way. It is the temple of a person, their soul, their connection to spirit, to spirit, to Father. You can augment that. You can choose to, as a spiritual person, augment it with guardian spirits or with ancestors. You can choose to augment it in a positive way in order to progress or get things done in life. This is why ancients would pray to certain deities to have powers bestowed upon them. It's why certain pagans in the Vikings, for instance, would take on the spirit of the bear, or something like that. Native Americans do that too, because they are a part of spirit. You can augment yourself with it. An uncontrolled person who works in what I would consider black magic, a narcissist, they are augmented by evil. They're augmented by dark forces, but it is beyond their control. And God help you if you actually ran into a narc who understands these things and works in witchcraft, because that would be a scary thing. That'd be a scary thing.
But it's also it's very important to mind your own path and to keep people out of your field who exhibit that, and I know there are some instances where people are physically controlled and like held in basements and all that kind of stuff. But by and large, like all of these baby narcissists we're talking about, you have to give them power in order for them to, like, you have to participate in their story and in their mind, and they have to get you to believe whatever they are thinking is actually real, and what you're thinking is, not real. And that's up to you to decide whether to participate or not. So
yeah, it is. Yeah. And it does come down to choice. Even if you're trauma bonded, even if you're being manipulated, it does come down to choice. There's a personal responsibility that you have to take. Now, it doesn't mean excuse the person who's doing evil upon you.
No, what it means, if they're legitimately abusing you or doing something illegal, definitely, take recourse on that. But like, if it's just some asshole that you don't have to deal with him, then don't deal with him.
And that's why Stevie has blocked a few people on Twitter, because I'm just not dealing with it. No contact is what he's talking about. No contact.
Well, I keep my circle very small on purpose. And there's an old saying that you are the sum total of the 5 closest people to you. So if the 5 closest people to you are all narcissists, what does that say about you? Some food for thought.
Yeah. Bro, hold on before I bring this up. My man, that is a point that I talk about, dude. Because you'll resonate them in your life, right? So I had unhealed or negative issues in me that resonated that. And when I looked back at the history of lovers, and I look back at some of the friends that I'd kept in my life, because nostalgia means a big thing to me. Like, everyone's got to believe. Deep down, everyone thinks like I do. Deep down, everyone feels like I do. No, they don't. And they really don't. But as examples, those lines of thinking resonated people in my life who would take advantage of a forgiving person, or empathetic person. So he's absolutely right. Like, one of the things I talk about in the recovery videos, in a couple of them, is understand what it is in you, what damages it is that you have, what unresolved issues that allowed yourself to be susceptible to the manipulation of a con artist. You got to recognize those things. You got to make yourself a stronger version of yourself.
Yeah.
And, and going back to kind of like the spiritual narcissistic topic, just for a second, this is what spiritual narcissists do. But they use the divine, God. They say they're a prophet, or they hear God, or they know God's law, or whatever or whatnot, and especially in the past, in rural areas, like in past centuries, this led to people being boiled in oil and burned alive, but in today's world, like people like freaking Olstein, right? The Olstein is possessed by fucking demons. Have you ever seen anything he's done? You know what I mean? Like, that dude does not care about other people. He is selfish, self-centered. That dude is a spiritual narcissist. He takes religion and uses it as a vehicle for wealth and power.
Yeah, I was totally going to talk about televangelists. There was this guy, I used to live in the South. His name was like Creflo Dollar, and he was a black dude, and he was telling people to send him money because Jesus wanted him to have a plane so that he could go.
Oh,
and
I
do...
remember that. I remember
yeah,
that story.
dude. So it's
But,
that's another form of spiritual narcissism. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, and on the same token, right? Because like narcissists will play on things that are probable. All right, probable realities, and they twist it to make it like this is the truth, maybe when it's not. At the same time, someone with a strong connection to source or has a message that comes from the view of a deity or a god, God may want them to be in a position where they don't have to worry about monetary means, or they have the ability to spread and be kind and charitable, and have a good life, right? So you just have to weigh it. You got to weigh it with observation and how, your intuition, how you feel, how your connection to God. But there are people out there who are well off, who are good people. They didn't stab people and scam people and press their views on others in order to get to a position where their ability to connect with others on a godly level is not hindered, or is more vocal. But at the same time, you have televangelist types,
Mm-hmm.
who use it as platforms for wealth, and it's a shame to have to navigate that, because playing on, especially when you're talking about a connection with the divine, right? That's something that should be shared with everyone and should be open, or the ability to be open, and bring us together. I'm telling y'all, if a belief system says, if a belief system says you're supposed to be good to your neighbors, be good to other people, and be good, do good things, and and all this, except if there's a quotations, except if they pray the wrong way, that system is not a good system. That it's
limited.
A selfish one.
Yep.
It's limited, absolutely.
Remember that guy on TV who used to beat people with his coats, and they just like line up and fall down?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Oh God, I gotta find the video. Hold on.
Oh man.
Yeah,
so
I'm
I'm
this video now.
Thinking about like spiritual narcissists and like people who have like super domes full of people that are just like lining up to be idiots on stage. That's kind of what I was talking about when I was saying, like, listen, if there's a guy out there doing that, why are you involving yourself with him? And if you think that you're possessed by devils and some guy's coat's going to beat it out of you, then I don't know.
Okay, we're going to take a few second break, and I want to show y'all something. Thank you, Immortal Cole, for bringing this up.
Benny Hinn, thank you, Tickle Truck.
It's happening. It's happening. Hold on.
Look at this.
Yeah, this is happening.
USA. Round 1. Fight. Hadouken. Shoryuken. Hadouken.
What the hell? I mean, come on.
Perfect. You win. Japan. Round 1. Fight. Shinku Hadouken. Hadouken. Round 2. Fight. Shinku Hadouken. You win.
Oh man.
USA. Round 1. Fight. 1.
All right, just one more. You myth.
Time over. You lose. I like.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a relationship between everybody with an ego and everybody who serves that ego. So you just have to. It's a combination of self-research and, I don't know, self-exploration, dark nights of the soul, all that kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Pardon me, guys. I'm off cam for a moment. I don't like. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'll smoke cigarettes, all right? And listen, there's a YouTuber out there by the name of Brahma Bull, and Brahma Bull I can't smoke a cigarette like him. It's manly. The way it's always manly. I don't know how Brahma does it. But then, like, there's this other guy that I know, Anthony, Dark Gift Comics, and he's really fruity the way he smokes. And I'm more of a fruity smoker. So I don't want to do that. Shout out to Brahma Bull and Dark Gift Comics. Real quick, a lot of people were commenting, and I missed a lot. So I just want to go back and say hi. First off, Snow Dub showed up in the chat. What's up, Snow?
What's up, brother? Jim
TMNT,
Henson's middle finger right there.
Jim Henson's middle finger, guys. Fucking sub to Snow Dub. Music and entertainment. Built an entire segment of YouTube, an entire YouTube sphere on Muppets. This man started it. This man got it rolling. Wonderful humor.
Yep.
Have fun over there. If one of the mods can put a link out for his channel, I'd appreciate it. Good to see you, Snow. Hail Trans Fat. Let's see. Sergeant Pepper says, I've seen ghosts. I have too. And I will at some point tell you guys a ghost story that I am not very proud of. And it involves my deceased best friend catching me in a moment where a man wants to be alone. You know, and
I've seen ghosts, but I've never been caught with my pants down.
I was caught with my pants down, and he was in angel form too. Like, it's a horrible story. I don't want to talk about it. We're gonna go past that
some other time.
Yes. Let's see. Do ghosts just move stuff poltergeists because they're bored or annoyed with us? I saw a video where someone yelled at one saying they'd call a priest and it stopped acting up. Okay, short story. My baby mama, grandmother, didn't like me. Good woman. All right. First off, I want to say good Christian woman. I'll say it like that. In the way that she couldn't stand me because I was going to convert her granddaughter to Satan because I prayed differently. But other than that, she was like, honestly, a very supportive, hearty matriarch in that family. Like, I do love her. I have love, and I'm thankful for the things that she helped me with. But she couldn't stand me. She loved my son. He was 1 year old, or he was less than a year old. She passed away. I'm glad that she had time with him, you know, because he even still has a blanket. Anyway, when she passed away, she used to come and check on her granddaughter and my son. And it would be when I'd come home from working at Dover Downs Casino, and I would go and play World of Warcraft because there was nothing to do in the middle of the night, so I'd play World of Warcraft. And she would come in, and I would sense her every single time. She would come in the door, and then she would go check on Mama, go check on Jen, and then she would turn around and go past me. And I could literally feel, guys, when this ghost would go past me, she was glaring at me. She's like, "You son of a, I don't want you to." She like that's how it felt. And then she would go and check on Nathan, and stay there for a moment. Then she would come back, and the kitchen area was right behind where my studio was at the time. And she would stand in the kitchen and stare at me. She did not like me. if I ignored it, because listen, the worst thing you can do with a spirit or a poltergeist or whatever it is let them know that you see them or feel them, or that's the worst thing you can do. You have no contact with those things. All right. So but it would stand in the kitchen, and she would start moving dishes around and stuff. And it got to the point where the routine was just annoying, because it's like, when you ignore a toxic person, let's put it in this situation, when you ignore a toxic person, like, they'll get to a point where they just keep trying to get your attention more and more, and they'll keep doing worse and worse stuff to get your attention. And that's what she was doing. And so eventually I just said, listen, you know, so-and-so. I said, I don't mind that you come here and see your granddaughter and see my son. I said, I'm glad that you're here and you love them, and I'm happy for that. I said, but if you keep on with, breaking dishes or moving, if you keep on with what you're doing, I'm going to ban you from the house. I'm going to banish you from this house. I'm going to pick up my little wand and I'm going to do that. And she stopped, honestly. So, but she did come, she still did come around, but it wasn't like it had been. So, yes, poltergeists can do any number of things, man. They're, to my understanding, spirits who have trapped themselves through karma, I believe, to a localized space, item, or person.
Mm-hmm.
And they're reenacting whatever it is, whatever karmatic experience trapped them in this realm over and over again. And it's usually in a negative way.
Yep.
And that's how I see it. Okay, you agree with that?
I concur. I've actually been on ghost busting missions, if you want to call them that.
Oh, you did paranormal investigations too?
A little bit, but it was mainly when I was like a teenager. So when I was like 17, 18, starting to get into some of that stuff. Because when you start to see auras, you can start to see layers where other beings exist. And yeah, you start to see beings who are obsessed with certain objects or certain people or certain spaces. And sometimes they just needed to be kicked out, essentially. So, yeah, I had a buddy whose second story of his house was haunted, more or less, and we went and cleared it out. It was pretty interesting stuff.
Wow. It is. I was part of a paranormal investigative team from Harrington, Delaware for a while. And I was the team sensitive. But it was fun. It was real fun. Dude, all the pictures that we got, just off topic, I was like, all the pictures when I would do my thing, the orbs, they would take pictures of me and there'd be orbs all around me. It was so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Bad Take Tina Bochin is in the house. What is up,
There she
Chicago?
is. What's happening?
How you doing? Good to see you. Tina is a part of the Sporky News podcast team. My friend Scott, if we get a link for Sporky News podcast out there from a wrench, I'll greatly appreciate it. Please go check out that channel. I was just on there last night doing Aluminum Spork, which is conspiracy theories, aliens, and the same stuff that Immortal Coil and I basically do on Savage Spirituality on his channel. Guys, we get a link for his channel as well. I'd appreciate it. So please check that out. And check it out, the stream from last night on Sporking and the wonderful team that was there. And, I said, Tina, look, when Mark came out, before you came on and Mark was talking about aliens are going to come take all the black people, you all be happy. I really thought he was talking about that Outer Limits episode. And then you brought that up. And he was like, no, I never saw that. I do. I swear to God. I swear he was talking about that. It was funny as hell. It's crazy. But again, there we go. There's like, we can talk about that energetically. But he brought something up like that. And then Tina came in and just, brought up the connection between why that was said in the past. Time being irrelevant where energy is concerned. It's very funny. Let's see. Gander and K, what's up? Do you really think you are saying stuff we don't already know? I'm not sure. I don't think anybody knows everything. I certainly don't. I learn things almost all the time when I'm talking to Immortal Coil. But reiterating, I think, if I'm reiterating something you already know, then congratulations, we both know. You know what I mean? Let's see. He says, CJH says, I always wonder if I was possessed when I was younger because I had so much internal rage. So when you are putting out a certain vibrational frequency out into the universe, you are resonating back what it is that you are sending out. That's what the frequencies are sympathetic. So if you are an angry person, you're going to literally create situations or draw situations that will make you angry. For instance, just a very simplified way of saying it. Coil, could you make that sound good?
Okay, so essentially whatever you're pissing off, you're giving power to. So if you're not seeking to remove it or resolve it, and you're keeping it there for the express purposes of being rageful to it, you eventually create an energy block. Now, I don't think that that's necessarily a possession. I've heard of instances where people have given thought forms more more form than they should have, I guess. But um,
Do you think that
yeah,
does that like apply with like does that apply with like going no contact with a narcissist because you don't want to feed them energy? Like I was talking with Coil about walking back mirroring because I'm kind of walking back
yeah,
that because I was angry, but I actually fed these people energy and I shouldn't have done that. Right? Is
right.
that kind of where you're going with it?
It's just like that. For whatever reason, you say that you're done with them, but you keep them stuck in your awareness at some certain point, and it's almost like you can't stop fucking with them because of the energy dynamic that you've set up. Like I'm
Right.
serious. The past two women that I've dealt with that the relationship ended, I ghosted them and just never talked to them again because I don't want to sit there and play games and leak energy from myself and continue to feed them, especially when what I see is what they did was disrespectful to me as a person. And that was part of my karma. I was always trying to like get with women who were just not good, not good people, and then just get like upset and offended and weird whenever they chose to end things and then just feed them too much of my own energy, and some of them dug it.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the narcissist kind of thing. But when I realized that that's what I was doing and that I was actively feeding somebody who had disrespected me on a basic level, I had to learn how to stop doing it. And I'm not saying it doesn't hurt because you miss the absence of that person or the idea of who you thought that person was. But when you realize that it got to that point, they were no longer the person who you once imagined them to be. So yeah, don't feed the
Yeah.
bears.
And hate's a hard thing to let go of, especially when you've been wronged, and then they keep prodding you, like they're trolling you, or they you get to a point where you have to make a decision. Are you going to heal? Are you going to hang on? Or, are you going to hang on,
Sure.
And I finally, I think, I'm not going to state it because I've said it so many times and I've gone back on it, but like me personally, I've gotten to a point where like I'm ready to move on. I am moving on. I have moved on. I'm sick of it. It's just a rotating cycle of shit. And I have better things to do, like talk to you guys and do these streams and be around Sigma males like Immortal Coil, the intergalactic stud, and hang out with awesome people like you. This Tickle Trunk says narcs switch in modes of action. They all come from the same person, one personality. A personality that can be augmented, I believe. As anyone can be augmented through spiritual means, whatever that attainment is to you, connection with angels, God, ancestors, guardian spirits. These things can be used to empower a person, both light and dark. See, I want to say this right. Gandon K says they are not possessed. They themselves are demons. I mean, Coil, have you ever encountered someone that you believed was a demon in a human skin suit?
No. I've
Yeah,
encountered
neither have I.
yeah, I find that kind of hyperbolic. So
I think
uh,
that's your perspective. I respect that position, and if I am proven wrong in the future, I'll definitely come back and remember this statement.
mm,
I have said, as I've said in some of my videos, I am hyperbolic, and it's to help people just get their anger out or get their pain out through laughter. Like
sure.
when I call a narcissist a demon in a human skin suit, I do not believe that person is a demon in a human skin suit. I think that they are just demonic, or they have augmented themselves with demonic force, or dark forces, what you would call demonic. but I do believe that that entity, that person, there is a soul, but their connection to God has been cut off. It's minute, you know. That's how I look at it. He says there's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I've met people who've chosen to walk away from the light or whatever you want to as well, and they don't stay long in my sphere for the same reason why I don't want to fuck with people who aren't contributing to my process. If you're not, you know, if you're there to use, then I have no use for you. Yeah.
Granted, there is not a such thing as an invisible demon. I disagree. I have to disagree with that. As a person who has worked as a necromancer, a summoner, um, as a paranormal investigator, um, there, the unseen is an entire realm that exists around us because of the restriction of our pineal gland and our third eye, and because of our enfleshed existence. Oh, thank you for that word, by the way. And there is a realm of invisible things going on around us. There are higher dimensional things going on all around us at all times, and these things are what you would call invisible to the naked eye. Now you can see them through the use of different chemicals or psychedelics or meditation or clarity, connection with source. If you're meant to move in a direction where you can see the energetic beings that press, or not press, but graze upon the thin layer, the membrane, so to speak, between the 4D and the 3D. So yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, now they can become visible. I saw one when I was mirroring, when I first started doing mirroring the narc thing with the 8 months ago. I said something because I have my powers comes from my throat chakra, as a Taurus, and the other person I was dealing with was a Taurus. But I don't want to disparage. I don't want to disparage anybody anymore, dude. But it's like I am. I believe that at this point in our lives, I am more intelligent and I am better with words. So I insulted him in such a way that I knew it would cut him all the way down to his core. Circumvent the false ego, go straight after the broken inner child. And that's what I did. And in that moment, I created such an intense anger within that narcissist that I saw a shadow form manifest in the opposing yard. It was a stealthy. It had kind of like a roguish, stealthy vibe, like an assassin vibe. And it was looking around the corner from this shed, full on vaporition coil, darkness from head to toe, with a red hue around the orbital area. And I knew right then and there, I'm looking at a demon. That was an entity that had grafted itself to this narcissist through his life, and was now being projected at me, going, "I see you." And it's so. Did you want to add something?
I was actually going to say something very similar to that as soon as I started hearing you tell the story. I was like, I bet whoever that was attached to your
the situation.
The guy standing there. But also, you got to realize that there's physicality to the overtones and densities past ours. You can train yourself to look at them, or you can leave your body and physically visit them, and there is physicality to it. What we say as invisible is just, like he was saying, is a perceptual limitation that we've taken on as a society. Because I mean, like, think about it. If you're walking around staring at the ground, staring at your cell phone all the time, when are you ever going to notice a non-physical phenomenon? You're not, because you're stuck on X or TikTok or whatever. And that's a perceptual limitation that you voluntarily take on. But I mean, seriously, turn off your phone for a week. Go and stay in the woods. You'll be surprised what happens.
Yeah. Hold on, someone's texting me. What was I saying? Oh, I can't. Hold on 1 second. I can't. Nathan, you're gonna have to wait, bro. So I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. Next
Let's go
question's
to
fine.
the next question. Yeah, next question. I'm sorry, Dan. I couldn't laugh at myself very well until I was in my 30s. I doubt that was possession, but it could be a possibility. I mean, you are. It's not right. Not right now. Speak on that, dude. I got to handle my kid. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. No, and that's honestly one of the most difficult things to do in life, especially if you've experienced trauma, and especially if you've experienced trauma at the behest of a relationship where somebody was routinely dragging you down. Now, that is a good way to learn how to heal from yourself. And if you can laugh with yourself or find somebody that you can laugh at yourself with, then that can be a powerful thing. And that's also saying it in a respectful way. You know, Steven and I rib each other all the time. You know, we'll talk and we'll be sincere, and then we'll just start flipping each other shit just to do it. But I mean, verbal sparring is something that guys do anyway. So you just you got to realize like there's not a real personal stake in doing that with somebody who truly respects you as a person. It's just they're kind of, you know, letting you know not to take stuff so seriously. But that's also why you hear us talking about spiritual topics in flippant ways sometimes where, Stephen was saying God had a big huge dick and, all that kind of stuff cuz you have to realize like enlightenment is a process of lightening up, and sometimes that involves taking a look at yourself and being able to laugh about it. Yeah. Doing all right, buddy?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yeah.
All right. Well, so to what Jessica was saying, see, I couldn't laugh at myself till I was in my 30s. I doubt that was possession, but it could be possibly. You are, first off, Jessica, from my understanding, my experience, you have an ancestor that always walks with you. You have someone from your family, could have been a relative that passed away before your time, or knew you for a certain amount of time. But you have spirits around. You have guardian spirits with you, and they sometimes will ignore you. I mean, if you're not taking the path you're supposed to take, sometimes they're just standing there shaking their head at you.
Yeah.
All right, and if you take a path that you know is the right path to take, and you choose not to, like going back to a narc, they will abandon you. They will teach you a lesson by abandoning you. That had happened to me this last Hoover, the last Hoover, and it's all throughout your life you have this. This is always your angels, however you want to look at them. They're always with you. You have to change your perception, who you are. If you couldn't laugh at yourself to your 30s, you had issues you had to work through, and then you worked through them. You got through them. Somehow you made it through them and got to and got to that point in your life. I don't think that was a possession. But if you are for a long enough time stuck in depression, all right, I've told this story a couple times, and I'll keep it real short. I became suicidal due to the constant future faking, hoovering, the live streams that were done about me, all of the smearing, whispers that were done, the flying monkeys, all of it. And my heart was so broken, I became suicidal. There was a time when I was fighting that and I was coming out of it. But it was still an underlying tone to what I was putting out into the universe. I want to die. I want to die. And one day I was feeling good. I went to go to a place to go see people that I looked forward, that I knew from YouTube, that, and I kind of felt like author Stephen Walton again. And that is when a security guard rolled up on me and began to question as to whether or not I was sitting in the car alone having a smoke because I was going to kill myself, and was insistent about it for like 8 minutes. Are you going to kill? There's constantly this demon knocking on my door. Are you going to kill yourself? Are you going to kill you?
Yeah.
You will resonate these things. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult to come out of trauma and come out of depression and come out of a negative mindset is because when you're there, if you're there for long enough, it becomes a part of like who you are. Man, your cells, your mind, your body, your spirit, all of these things are putting out that frequency of depression. You're resonating depression or whatever trauma you're going through. It will manifest those things. I think that narcissists on a spiritual level innately understand that. And the demons that have grafted themselves to them understand that as well. And they use that against you. And that's why no contact can be so hard in the beginning when you're breaking the trauma bond, because you are being psychically attacked. A person who is manically thinking about you, who is hating on you, talking trash on you, making stories up about you, doing live smear streams about you, all of this, that's a psychic attack. Constant energy being thrown in your direction, negative energy. That's the evil eye. And the same can be said for anyone, any type of hater, any type of troll. It really does come down to your personal power and your connection to source and your personal belief, your personal stamina to break away from such a thing. So I don't think you were possessed at any point, but you could have attracted situations, entities, in your world that reinforced whatever it was that kept you from being able to laugh at yourself, or be humble in that way. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Let's see. Zach says, I'm a chosen one. Hail, brother. Hail to you. Hail to you, man. You keep resonate high, brother. Resonate high. Yeah, man. I'm reluctant to say I'm a chosen one or a star seed, whether or not I believe it, because I don't know. I feel like that's truth versus ego, right? Narrative versus fact. What is that? Like, what do you think about those types of the terminology, Coyle? Like when someone, like, would you say you're a star seed?
Well, I mean, that's a multifaceted question, because genetically we all are star seeds.
Right? Okay.
So
in the modern terminology, let's put it that way.
In the modern terminology, it's not like I lived on Alpha Centauri and decided to fly down here and work here. I actually consider myself more of a universally spiritual being who has happened to work in different locales, and it just depends on the.
Oh, he's a troll.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I didn't see that.
Yeah, but still, like the point is kind of valid to speak about for a little bit. It's there are people who are over attached to the idea of being a contactee. A contactee is just one of the things that I've happened to be. I've been lots of different things and lots of different lives. But I think once you start really working on yourself and evolving as a spirit, you become interesting to other forms of life and other, types of intelligence. And it's just up to you if you want to seek that out and engage with it, which I did for a long time because I was curious, you know. But lots of different stories for different shows. We could talk about that some different time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Hold on. I'm knocking a couple trolls out.
All right.
What's up, Zax? Oh my God. What's up, Whatever Cast? That is my boy. That is West Moody, guys. Please check out Whatever Cast, guys. Put a link out to his channel if you could. What's up, Zax? Good to see you. We're running 2.5 hours. We're gonna cut it off here in a moment anyway.
Yeah. We had a lot of chat participation. I was really impressed with what you guys came up with. Yeah. Sometimes it's more fun BSing with you guys than it is trying to think of show topics and all that kind of thing.
Hold on one second. Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's see. Boom. There we go. Handling trolls. Let's see. Why are you gonna come into my chat? No. Now I'm saying no. I'm not even gonna say who that is. Y'all know who that. No, rock out. Oh my God. Slow down. Oh, look, Kobe Flyer. Kobe Flyer, what's up, man? Good to see you, bro. He says the narcs have subscribed to dark entities to gain control over their targeted victims. In some cases, yes, absolutely. If they are a mystic of some kind or have ability. Absolutely, man. Jessica says, I steer clear of relationships. I'm a psychopath and narcissist magnet, unfortunately. You got to figure out what it is in you that draws those things and understand it. That's something. We do another live stream. We're actually going to touch on that subject, manifestation and and personal resonance. We're going to get into that. But figure out what it is in you. There's something, is an underlying reason, whether it's unhealed childhood trauma, or it is some type of karmatic experience that you've had that creates this, Jessica, that creates that brings them to you. I actually heard this a few times from different people. And let's see. I don't listen to anybody. A lot of chats in here, man. Guys, I greatly. Sorry, guys. You got to hold on for a second. Hi, Beth. It's good to see you, honey. That's my twin train wreck in the chat. No one can disrespect Beth. Beth is all mine. All right. When we make love, it's worse than Chernobyl. That's how toxic we are. That's our love. I love you, Beth. It's good to see you, honey. Thank you so much for being here. Now, see what's going on, Beth. Thank you for stopping through, honey. Great to see you, babe. I gotta stop in some of Nicole's streams. I haven't seen any of them in a hot minute. I gotta stop by there. How have you been, honey? That's another person, Beth's a paranormal investigator as well. She's pretty incredible. Oh, what's up, Mackany? How you doing? Mackany draws in the chat.
Oh,
guys, please subscribe to Mackany. Hail.
Some rogueness right there.
There's some rogueness. Yeah, can somebody throw a link out for Mackany's channel? Congratulations to you, all your success and all the wonderful things that you're doing over there. Hail to Bruce Lombardo, Mads, and all the wonderful people on Mackany's channels.
Man, he drew a Skeletor that just like tore my head off, man. I really was impressed by it. Yeah.
Nicole doesn't have internet or a computer right now. What happened to Nick? What happened? What did she do? What? All right, I need to know. DM me. Tell me what's going on over there. Beth, throw a link out to Nikki's tarot channels if anyone's interested in tarot for when she gets back. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much, whatever cast. Please subscribe to Mackany Draws. Guys, please take a look at that channel. One of the people I came up with when we started doing YouTube, both of Mortal Coil and myself. Mm-hmm. And please check out Zach's wonderful channel over there too. Great people, good panels, having fun. Very gay in a way, not all gay. It's very gay, but if you see Zach, look, I'm just saying, his shoulders might turn you. That's all I'm saying. Zach's is a dude who will tell you straight up. But if you drink wine with him, you might get tied to the ceiling. That's all. That's kind of where Zach's vibe is. I don't know how to explain that. It's good to see you, Zach. Hail to you, brother. I greatly appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to allow my boy, Immortal Coil, to give you guys an outro. Coil, tell them where they can find you and what you got going on, brother.
Yeah, what's happening, my savage friends? You can find me on my own channel, Immortal Coil. Most of what I've done lately, at least, is a balance between shorts where I'm just kind of like quipping one-liner or, one paragraph kind of philosophical statements for people to consider. It's not like a lecture. It's just like making a statement about something that struck me that particular day. The other thing is I do live streams. We were talking about basically tripling up on the live streams on the weekend and trying to figure out a way to, take over the weekend and make a solid block of sort of like metaphysical weirdo kind of talk. I do have some ideas for some other streams. I probably have some time to work on it now, so I'm going to try to work on a couple of those different ideas. As they come out, I'll promote them. I'll definitely keep Steven in the loop. And, come out and see me on Saturday nights. We start going at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then on Sunday nights, you can find me right here, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with the Sage and the Savage Show. Once again, thanks for coming out, guys. Really appreciate the feedback in the chat. Because it kind of takes the show in different directions than we planned for it up front. And we had a lot of good tangents this day. So, killer. Appreciate you.
Yeah, brother. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Coil. And if somebody could put in the chat, somebody could put Mortal Coil's link in the chat for his channel. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you. We'll be back next week. My weekend begins with Spork and News podcast, Lewin Spork. on his channel, Sporting News Podcast, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then then Savage Spirituality over on Immortal Coil, and then The Sage and the Savage on Sundays. Greatly appreciate you. I am Lodonis Ravenwolf Dragonstorm, your seer and sage. Hail to all my fellow survivors and thrivers from narcissistic abuse. And I am also author Stephen Walton, the Fandom Menace historian, your historian, born in the chats of the High Council with my brothers and sisters, fighting for our modern mythologies. Wash your hands, wash your ass. Be good to each other, yet suffer no fools.
Remember this day, man, for it will be yours for all time.
We have shown them that a trembling hand can become a fist. We have challenged the idea that a slave must always know his place, excepting Rod and Lash because he was taught to accept it. We built their mighty republic with our hands and our blood and our lives. And we can see it fall at equal cost. You opened my eyes to this, Spartacus.